and it was something along the lines of like, this isn't the first time that he like did something with a Mercedes. And I thought about
Oh,
that because you said something with the DUI, and I was like, oh my
yeah.
God, that's so bad. Like this dude just won Twitter for the whole year. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dillard, bringing you guys another podcast. This is the Barnyard podcast, and we haven't done one in a while, so it's definitely good to see Clemente and do this again. How are you doing, my friend?
I've been doing good, man. Just got vaccinated last week, so
Nice.
excited.
Props to you, man. Props to you, man. The reason why we haven't done a podcast in a while, I know, Clemente's been really busy, especially now. There's the NBA playoffs now, so it's like you're probably even busier, just watching all the games rapidly, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
Oklahoma City's not in the playoffs, but you're still like keep yourself busy. And then I went to Los Angeles for what was it, 10 days, and I was gonna try and go to a Dodgers game, but California is very strict still, and a lot of the things, not just that, like Disney World and some other things, are like you have to be a California-based resident, which I was like, I understood, I understand it, but at the same time, I was like, dang, I really wanted to go see a
Yeah.
Dodgers game. And what kind of sucked was the game that we were supposed to go on, which was the Friday night before I left on Saturday. Um, that was the game where the Dodgers, I think, scored like I think it was like 10 runs against the Marlins. So I missed out on some offensive firepower, man. It sucks. I'll be back though. I'll be back soon. I love the West Coast. But anyways, we have some pretty interesting topics to talk about. The first thing we wanted to talk about, and the most important topic, probably one of the most important topics I've really ever talked about in any podcast, to be honest with you, just because it's very, very serious, and it has to do with the fact that we claim that we want to grow the game of baseball, yet we tell players that they can't do this and they can't do that, and we hold them to such strict regulations and such. But we're going to talk about Tony La Russa. If you don't know who that is, White Sox manager. I know a lot of White Sox fans were not thrilled about it when they signed him or they hired him, and I know the majority of the league is not too excited about it either in the first place, because he just has a bad reputation. He keeps destroying his reputation, in my opinion. It just keeps going down the gutter. But the other day, the Twins were playing the White Sox, and Tony was quote unquote upset because Mercedes, who, your mom Mercedes, he's been absolutely killing it. He's been just a big, big threat, someone you always have to watch out for. He had a home run on a 3-0 count, very similar to what Tatis did last year against the Rangers, in a blowout win versus the Twins. And this is what Tony said. He said he made a mistake. There will be consequences he has to endure here within our family. I'm like, what do you think about that immediately? Like, that just, man, that seems so cringy to me when he says that. Like, he made a mistake. There will be consequences he has to endure. Like, you have to think about this. Mercedes is making league minimum salary. He's not on a big contract or anything. He's trying to get every swing he possibly can. He's trying to be as productive as he can. And you know what I mean? Like, because the more that he produces, the more that his numbers go up, the more that his OPS goes up, because his OPS is really good. His WRC plus is really good. The more these numbers go up, and I mean, defense isn't as big of a factor, but if this defense goes up, then that's, good for them. Although I think he's more of a DH than anything else. But anyways, Mercedes is trying his best, just like what happened with Tatis and the Rangers last year, where it's like, again, I've said it so many times. If you're a pitcher, just make a better pitch. If you're going to cry about it, you probably should not be in this league. I mean, we're all grown adults here. You know what I mean? You got to make your pitches. And I don't know if you noticed this or saw this, but Trevor Bauer said something about it. I don't remember the word for word, but I know he tweeted out something along the lines of saying that he was like, if they celebrate and they're showing their emotions, cool. Like, I got to make a better pitch. And I love that. A lot of people don't like Bauer. But that was one of those moments where I'm like, I mean, Bauer's right. I mean, if you're going to complain about someone showing their emotion or whatnot, or doing bat flips or all this and that, kind of like a miniature Bumgarner who gets upset every time somebody does even remotely shows an ounce of emotion, he has a problem with it. You know what I mean? So kind of give me your input on it.
Well, it's funny that you brought up how if you don't want to be disrespected because you're not pitching well, if you're a pitcher. What's funny about that is that he didn't even hit it off a pitcher. I think it was like a position player
Yeah.
pitching in the ninth inning. It was, and he for like and the ball he had him off of was like less than 50 miles per hour. So like, I really
No.
don't get it. Tony La
Yeah.
Russa, man, he sounds like he sounds like the ultimate boomer, man. He's saying like he's being disrespectful towards the game, but like, why wasn't he disrespectful towards, or why was he being disrespectful towards the law when he got pulled over for DUIs multiple times? I really don't get it, man.
Mm.
Seems like nobody,
Oh
nobody
my
likes La
God.
Russa. All the fans hate it. Even Jeff Passan, like the big, big time, the biggest, one of the bigger, either him or Kim Roosevelt are like the biggest like baseball reporters. Even he was giving the Russa shit for it.
Yeah.
So it seems like nobody's on the Russa's corner except for like Russa himself and like maybe Facebook boomers as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a bad look, and like I don't know, it's a bad look because your manager is basically fighting amongst his own team, and like that's not gonna result in a good long term health when it comes to like your clubhouse.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're gonna do. It feels like eventually this is gonna boil over to a certain point. I guess not there yet because the White Sox, I think they have the best record in all the majors right now.
Mhm.
But like once they start like losing or going through a mini slump, I feel like that's when personalities will clash, and like there could potentially be like a bigger like issue than this.
Well, yeah, they actually. Well, we just played them for a 3-game series Friday, Saturday, and had our last game today, and ended up sweeping them. So it's kind of funny that you say that because
Yeah.
it's like the White Sox have now lost 3 in a row. First time they've lost 3 in a row this whole season. So it's like, is it going to be a mini slump? Who knows? Um, Man, yeah, I don't get it, dude. Like, Tony La Russa makes no sense. I saw a comment earlier on Twitter, and I was like, oh my God, you won Twitter for the whole year. And it was something along the lines of, like, this isn't the first time that he, like, did something with a Mercedes. And I thought about that because you said something with the DUI, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so bad. Like, this dude just won Twitter for the whole year. But what really blows my mind more than just that is that Tyler Duffy, the next day after, ended up
Yeah.
getting ejected for throwing behind Mercedes. And he got a 3-game suspension. And that's when I was thinking, I was like, dude, at this point, I'm so convinced because Tony is so in his old baseball ways about, being respectful about the game, whatever the heck that means. I'm convinced that Tony would be more interested in protesting Duffy's suspension and publicly be with him in a courthouse or something like that, like representing his client, than he would supporting and representing his own players and supporting his own team. Like, is it that bad that I think like that? Like, it's so sad. Like, I'm genuinely just, I can't even do, I don't even know. I have a loss for words. Like, I can't even form sentences properly because it makes no sense. I don't think anybody is hurting the game of baseball more than Tony La Russa. And people who think like him and people who believe that, Mercedes is disrespecting the game or, the whole thing with Tatis and, just being an overall another Bumgarner or somebody who just really hates hitters. Like, it's really weird that you have that much of a problem with them showing emotion. Like, make a better pitch. And again, like you said, that position player was a position player. It wasn't even a pitcher. Like, he threw like under 60 miles per hour. So it's like, come on, man. Like, let's stop doing that. Let's just let the kids play. We keep saying, we keep egging on that we need to let the kids play, but we keep doing dumb things like this. We keep doing nonsense like this and keep pushing the game back instead of propelling it upwards and letting people have fun and letting kids, or the younger players who are the future of this game, who their responsibility of growing the game upwards, we're not doing that. We're not helping them. We're not helping the sport. We're killing the sport, if anything else. But outside of that, I know this is not a topic that you want to talk about because something just happened. Out of all the Rangers games I could have went to, I was literally 2 days away from going to this game. I ended up going to the game where they ended up losing. Out of the 4 games, they lost one and beat the Rangers 3 times. But what I'm talking about is the no-hitter. Corey Kluber got a no-hitter against Texas. The weirdest thing is that there's been 6 no-hitters already, and 2 of them are against Cleveland, Seattle, and Texas. Like, how does that happen? Like, you cannot make this up if you tried. And then you had 2 straight days with a no-hitter from Turnbull and Kluber. And when you think about that, you're like, Spencer Turnbull, like, is that a guy who should be throwing a no-hitter? Like, really think about that for a second. Is he a guy that pops in your mind? It's like, it's kind of like Homer Bailey. It's like Homer Bailey has how many no-hitters? He's not a guy who you immediately think about who's going to throw no-hitters, you know what I mean? But Turnbull threw one, and then Kluber the next day threw one. And I think the most funniest thing about the whole thing with Kluber and the no-hitter with that in Texas is it's incredibly ironic that Kluber threw not only the Yankees' first no-hitter since 1999. I've never seen a no-hitter from the Yankees in my life, so this was so cool for me, really personal for me. I was sweating bullets the entire time. Like once we hit the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning, especially the ninth inning, dude, I was sweating bullets. Like I was so freaking nervous for Kluber. I'd never seen that from my own team in my life. I felt really bad for you. I was kind of thinking about you and some of my other friends who are Rangers fans because they're like, oh my God, like please don't let this happen. But I just thought it was really ironic that out of all the teams Kluber threw a no-hitter against was his former team who he pitched exactly one inning with. Like that's, you just can't make that up, man. Like that's crazy.
Just rubbing salt in the wound, Dylan. Rubbing salt in the wound, man.
Sorry. But I'm actually curious what you think about Kluber because I know that we talked, even like off the air, like when we weren't doing podcasts, like we've talked before on, Facebook and Twitter DMs and such. We kind of talked about Kluber, and this was, also before the fact that we signed Kluber because you were like, what do you think about this? Like, are you happy that the Yankees are going after him? Are you happy that they signed him and stuff? I'm curious what you think about Kluber now because in the beginning, in the months of April, which Kluber has had a reputation of not performing as well, he has to warm up over time. Now Kluber is down to like a 2 ERA now. Like he's killing it now. Like he's performing really well. And what I saw from him from that no-hitter, I mean, I know it's one game, it's small sample size. We got to continue more months and building up that track record to see really what we're going to get from Kluber this year, what kind of pitcher he is. But when I was watching that game, he was Klubot again. That was the pitcher that I saw from the Indians, from Cleveland that I wanted. And I was like, this is the guy that I want on the Yankees. Like, I'm not expecting him to be like a Cy Young, like 2017, 2016 season where he's just dominant. I don't expect that kind of, or I don't expect him to replicate those type of numbers. But at the same time, I know he's good enough to do something at least similar to that. And now he's showing it, like that no-hitter. His pitches were great. His command was, I haven't seen his command that great in years. It's been a long time since I've seen him that pinpoint and that dominant. So I wanted to know what you thought about Kluber so far.
I mean, I remember when the Rangers first declined his $18 million option. I was thinking that it was going to be an obvious move, but then he went to sign with the Yankees for $11 million. I'm thinking like, oh man, that's quite pricey for someone who, for all intents and purposes at that point, looked like it was done. Because I think when the Rangers first got him, it was like, you know what, it's a low risk move. Everybody was surprised just how little the Rangers gave up, but like as people started digging into Kluber's last couple of years with Cleveland, starting to realize like, oh okay, I can see why the Indians only got so much back because Kluber in his last couple of years with Cleveland, his velocity was going down, his numbers were getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it was low risk, high reward type of move for the Rangers, and obviously they only got one inning out of it, so it didn't work out for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying similar stuff to you whenever the Yankees signed him. Like, you know what? I mean, I don't think Kluber's gonna work out. I don't really think he has that much of a future left in the majors. But like, hey, if it works out, then that's a bargain of a deal. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't, then he's somebody who's on a 1 year deal that you can move on from pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But so far through like the first couple months of the season, it looks like a bargain, man. Could you tell me like, are the Yankees doing anything specifically to help Kluber have such a bounce back season? Like, are they telling him to add this specific pitch, or are they telling him to eliminate a specific pitch, or what do you think?
Honestly, I think it all just has to do with, getting consistent performances again, because he hasn't pitched over 30 or 35 innings since so it's like 2020 he only pitched one inning because of the injury, and then he was dealing with injuries in 2019 where he only threw 35.2 innings. So he's a guy who for a while, for year after year after year, was throwing over 200 innings. He hasn't thrown over 100, let alone 200 innings since 2018. So it's been 3 years now since, he's gotten consistent, reps and such like that, just pitching consistently. And now he's already at 50.1 innings. So I think it was always a combination of just, Kluber. That's the thing. Like, I never understood why people gave up on him so fast, because I'm like, first off, if you're concerned about the injuries, then just say you're concerned about the injuries. I get it. Like, we don't know. That's why you said it best when you were like, at the worst, the deal might be too high in terms of how much money he's receiving, but at the end of the day, at least it's only a 1 year deal. So it's like, if you get great production out of him for that 1 year and the Yankees end up going to the postseason, if they somehow win the World Series, then that's a bargain of a lifetime, you know? And if it doesn't work out, it's only for 1 year and then he's done and then you move on. So it's not the most ridiculous signing. And obviously right now it's proving, at least to me, it's proving to be a very good deal that they've ended up running away with so far. I know there's a lot more time left. We got to get through June, July, and so on. But like I said, Kluber's never been an early pitcher. Like he's always struggled the most in April, and then you know tack on the top of he hasn't had consistent games where he's pitched since 2018. So you combine that, and he's going to get better and better and better. And I've noticed that it with each start he walks less because we've always known Kluber's one of those guys that he doesn't give up a ton of home runs, and he doesn't walk a ton of hitters. Like he's always had a low BB per nine, and I've noticed that with each start he's hitting the zone more. His cutters are better. All of his breaking pitches are better. Kluber's never been like a fastball type of guy, but his velocity is great up in there. He's coming back to where he was like he was in Cleveland, and I think that he's just going to get better with more time and more repetition. Just keep going back out there on the mound. Which I don't know if you knew this or not, but the Yankees in the last 4 games, they've only allowed 1 earned run as far as the starting pitchers are concerned, which is Cole, Kluber, Herman, and Taillon. It's insane. It's like, what the heck? Like me as a Yankee fan, I'm like, I didn't expect this because the Yankees, they're always known for their offensive firepower, and the White Sox series they kind of broke out a little bit more, but the Yankees offense has just not been what people thought it would be this year. It's been, they've had sparks, especially with Stanton and Judge. You never have to worry about those guys. They're always killing it. But, Gleyber was slow, and there's other players that have been slow, slow to get hot and stuff. And it is what it is. But outside of that, moving on, we have 2 more topics we want to discuss just real quickly. I know that you want to talk about a certain special someone from the Rangers, so I'll let you talk about him.
Oh, man. Have you ever heard yet? Adolis Garcia, second in all majors in home runs through late May. So that's significant enough of a sample size to to catch your eyes. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, Garcia he was traded to the Rangers for cash considerations, and he was waived a couple times, DFA'd a couple times, went through waivers while getting picked up, and now all of a sudden he's probably one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball. And it really came out of nowhere because Adolis Garcia is a 28-year-old rookie, and he struggled to get playing time in the majors, and now this season for the first time in his career he's getting consistent playing time. And he's proven to be one of the best hitters in all of baseball so far up to this point this season. If you go for his baseball savant page and you just look for some of his percentiles, he's 95th in average exit velocity, 87th in max exit velocity, 96th in hard hit percentage, 93rd in expected slugging percentage. So when it comes to barrel percentage, he's in 98th percentile. So he's hitting the ball really, really hard. But when you look at his K percentage, he's 22nd. Not getting any walks because that BB percentage is at 15. His chase rate is at 7 percentile. His whiff percentage is at 21st percentile. So really, when it comes to Adolis Garcia and what type of hitter he is, he's just hitting really hard, and he's not really disciplined or patient when it comes to not swinging at stuff, and that's been a pain in the ass. But we'll see if he regresses back eventually. Because if he does, it'll probably because he has such a high, strikeout and such a low walk rate. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've been really surprised by him. I think Rangers fans are hoping that hopefully he can be the next Nelson Cruz, because Nelson Cruz was also a very late bloomer with the Rangers, 28-year-old, and now he's one of the all-time home run leaders, I think, or he's up there at least. Mm-hmm. So that's another guy. That's one of the comparisons Ranger fans are hoping. But Chris Woodward, the Rangers manager, who was a former Dodgers third base coach, he said when he was asked about who does Adolis Garcia's game remind you of, he said a more consistent Yasiel Puig. So I just want to. That's quite the comparison to make, because we all know Yasiel Puig was great with the Dodgers early on in his career. He's started off since then, but man, if Adolis Garcia could have a Yasiel Puig type of career, that's finding money off the street for the Rangers. But what do you think, Dillard?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't really seem like a lot of people really knew about him until this year, and it broke out completely. Like you said, 14 home runs, tied for second with Ohtani. which that's crazy. Did you ever think Otani was going to be second with home runs and him pitching and stuff? It's crazy. This season has had so much to offer, but Garcia has a 950 OPS, 160 WRC plus in 38 games. Still small sample size, so we'll still have to go on and see how it works out. He's top 15 for F4 with a 1.9 F4. And also a good thing about him is he's a solid defender, 1.5 UZR with a 5 DRS. So he's not only just hitting the ball really well, he's playing pretty solid, good defense. He's not playing bad defense. He's a little bit above average or league average, especially in terms of DRS. But yeah, he's really exciting. I mean, I don't really watch the Rangers too much, but he is one of the reasons that I will turn on games. Like, even if they're playing someone I don't really care to see necessarily, like the Orioles or something, I'll turn it on just to see him because he's such an exciting player. I told you that I went to the Rangers game, and I happened to go to the one that Garrett Cole pitched, and Adolis Garcia ended up hitting a home run that game, and I was like, oh, this man's going to be a thorn for people to deal with because, like, man, he was just and that's Garrett Cole. Like, you got to think about that. That's Garrett Cole. Even when Garrett Cole is not at his best, he's still better than like 90+% of the league. Like, even when he doesn't have his A+ stuff, that's what sets Garrett Cole apart from other pitchers. That's what pitchers like Garrett Cole and Jacob deGrom and Shane Bieber, guys like that, what separates them from the rest of the people is even when they're not posting your typical 10+ strikeout performances, going 6 and 7 innings, allowing only 0 to 2 earned runs, having just spectacular performances. Even when those guys aren't doing those consistent monster performances, they're still extremely good when they're not finding the zone as consistently. Garrett Cole's one of those guys. He's never going to be a guy. I mean, it's very rare that he gives up like a bunch of runs like he did against the Rangers. And I mean, there's some good key pieces that I like in the Rangers. Obviously, I've always been a fan of Joey Gallo, Adolis Garcia. I still really like Willie Calhoun. I think that he could add some depth to the lineup too. He's shown glimpses of solid performing, especially with the bat. But that's the thing. It's like Garrett Cole. I mean, that's a pitcher. That's one of the few pitchers where you're like, okay, we got to buckle down. Like, this is going to be a tough game to win. This is, and out of all the games that the Yankees played against the Rangers, I wouldn't have guessed that the only game that the Rangers would have won against was Cole. That's just not a pitcher. Like, not saying the Rangers aren't, well, they're not really that good. Let's be honest. But even like really good teams, you just kind of look at it. You're like, well, there's really very few guys that you think you're gonna go toe to toe against with Cole and be like, okay, I think we genuinely have a chance. Like, I think we'll be okay. Like, one of those guys obviously is DeGrom. Shane Bieber, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, really good elite level pitchers that will all probably be Hall of Famers in their career once it's said and done. But yeah, point is, Garcia was looking really good against Cole that night, hitting some really good, getting a lot of contact on the ball. Like you said, hard hit percentage. That home run that he hit that stadium, it flew in an eye blink. I was like, geez, that thing just went out of the stadium, and I was obviously not amused in the slightest. But yeah, I'm very excited for Garcia. And I'm excited for Rangers fans because it just doesn't seem like they've had a whole lot to cheer about pretty much since, I don't want to say it, but 2 World Series. You know what I mean? Those Rangers teams were pretty absurd those years in that time period. But the other thing that we want to talk about, the last thing we want to talk about, and it's really funny because I didn't think it was going to happen, but we're going to talk about Albert Pujols. The Dodgers and Pujols agreed to a 1-year contract after the Angels released him, which I feel like the Angels... some people are like, it was disrespectful. They should have just let him finish his career with the Angels. But people don't understand that Pujols has done nothing for the Angels. He's hurting his career more by staying in the league than he is retiring. You know what I mean? Because since 2017, he has a negative 3.3 F4. You know what I mean? Like, that's not good at all. That's terrible. 694 OPS, 84 WRC plus since 2017, just bad numbers, just not good. And I think it was kind of long overdue. The Angels, ended up releasing him because he hasn't done anything for the team in a while. 721 OPS, 103 WRC plus for the Dodgers, barely above league average with WRC plus. I found it so hilarious that the first night that he played in a Dodger uniform, he ended up driving. It wasn't the first plate appearance, it was the second one, but he ended up driving an RBI in his second plate appearance as a Dodger. I was like, People can overhype him all they want, but do I think the Dodgers are, just magically going to fix this man? Absolutely not. Like, he's going to continue to get worse and worse as he gets older and such, and he's nearing retirement anytime soon now. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole matter?
I mean, Al Pujols pretty much gives us a cautionary tale when it comes to like signing, guys past 30 years old to like 10-year deals. I mean, Pujols originally signed when he was 32 with the Angels, and like he only produced a couple of, decent, great seasons of his caliber early on, and then afterwards, it's just been like he's been a black hole when it comes to the offense. So I guess that's what happens. That's probably the worst case scenario when it comes to like signing these big mega deals that span like 7-10 years long. So I'm not surprised that the Angels. I'm surprised that the Angels bought him out or released him, because you really thought I think this was his final year of his contract, was it not? So I think most people just assumed that they were just going to let him play out the season. But I guess they realized, like, yeah, we can't keep putting this guy in the lineup every day because he's just putting us at a disadvantage.
That's why I was surprised they didn't do it sooner, because I was like, he's been hurting them ever since 2017. Like, he hasn't had even an average season. He's just had bad after bad after bad season. And I hate to see that, man. I wish Pujols was doing what Nelson Cruz was doing. Nelson Cruz is almost 41, and he's still one of the best hitters in the whole entire league, which is nuts to think about. I wish Albert Pujols was like that still. That would be awesome, because Albert Pujols, I mean, I don't have to tell you this, and I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell most people this, if you're a fan of baseball, unless you're living under a rock, you know who Albert Pujols is, but in his prime with the Cardinals, that is one of the scariest hitters I've ever seen in my entire life. You know what I mean? Very few people matched his caliber in his prime. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, I remember I was looking up articles to do this podcast about Pujols, and like one of the ones I saw was one of the articles when he originally signed a 10-year deal back in 2011. And like one of the headlines, like, Albert Pujols is like LeBron of Major League Baseball. So like that kind of puts things in perspective to how big Pujols was in his prime of St. Louis.
Yeah, that's what some people were like. Maybe like after the Angels released him, they were like, the Cardinals should just let him finish his career with the Cardinals. And I'm like, they're not going to do that. I guarantee you they're not going to do that, because the Cardinals, I mean, they're in contentionship with their division right now, I don't think the Cardinals are going to get past someone like the Braves or Dodgers or Padres for that matter. But, the fact is that they're competing. They're a competing team. And they're not going to put themselves at a massive disadvantage. Who are they going to play for? Who's he going to play for? You have in the National League, they don't have DHs. And you're not going to put him ahead of Paul Goldschmidt. If you put him ahead of Paul Goldschmidt, that's an idiotic move. You don't do that. Paul Goldschmidt is significantly better than him. Paul Goldschmidt is, I said it last year, like, especially last year, he had like one of the most underrated quiet seasons I've ever seen from somebody, but you just don't do that. So I always knew the Cardinals were not going to do that. They're just, no, we've moved on from Pujols. We have Goldschmidt. That's why we signed Goldschmidt to the contract we did whenever he didn't re-sign with the Diamondbacks. But I don't know, man. This contract just doesn't really make any sense to me, just because a lot of people are like, oh, the Dodgers might have found something. And I'm like, I'm not one of those people that's just magically, Pujols is going to go revert back to, mid to early 2000s prime Pujols with the Cardinals. You know what I mean? I don't think the Dodgers are that smart where they could fix somebody like that overnight. You know what I mean? Yeah. But outside of that, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Nothing I can think of right now, man. My mind's too busy focusing on NBA playoffs.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is very true. There are a lot of playoff games right now. All right. Well, outside of that, I hope you guys did enjoy the podcast. If you guys have any questions for us in the future, definitely let us know in the comment section below. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell notification so you never miss a video that we upload. And then also, obviously, leave a like. That helps a lot. And if you want to share it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, definitely do that, because that helps us a lot. But outside of that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.
See you guys.